Do you know where your online pills are coming from? If you order prescription drugs online from non-regulated sites or buy them from a friend, you could be risking your health, and even your life. Fake pills laced with potentially deadly. Many fake pills are made to look like prescription opioids such as oxycodone, OxyContin, Percocet, hydrocodone, Vicodin, and alprazolam, Xanax, or stimulants like amphetamines, Adderall, but contain fentanyl or methamphetamine. Cr. Criminal drug networks are mass-producing fake pills and falsely marketing them as legitimate prescription pills to deceive the American public. Fake pills are more lethal than ever before. DEA lab testing reveals that 2 out of every 5 pills by a trusted medical professional and dispensed by a licensed pharmacy. Oxycodone, OxyContin, Tylox, Percodan, Valium, Xanax, Restoril, Ativan, Klonopin, Adderall, Concerta, Dexedrine, Focalin, Metadate, Methylene, Ritalin.
Drug overdose deaths remain high. 75% of the nearly 92,000 drug overdose deaths in 2020 involved an opioid. More than 932,000 people have died since 1999 from a drug overdose. 1 in 2020, 91,799 drug overdose deaths occurred in the United States. The age-adjusted rate of overdose deaths increased by 31% from 2019, 21.6 per 100,000, to 2020, 28.3 per 100,000. Opioids, mainly synthetic opioids, other than methadone, are currently the main driver of drug overdose deaths. 82.3% of opioid-involved overdose deaths involved synthetic opioids. Opioids were involved in 68,630 overdose deaths in 2020, 74.8% of all drug overdose deaths. Drug overdose deaths involving psychostimulants such as methamphetamine are increasing with and without synthetic opioid involvement. In 2020, more than 56,000 deaths involving synthetic opioids, other than methadone, occurred in the United States, which is more deaths than from any other type of opioid. Synthetic opioid-involved death rates increased by over 56% from 2019 to 2020 and accounted for over 82% of all opioid-involved deaths in 2020. In the past, but the rate of overdose deaths involving synthetic opioids was more than 18 times higher in 2020 than in 2013. With a mixture of curiosity and desperation, previous reports have indicated that increases in synthetic opioid-involved deaths have been associated with the number of drug submissions obtained by law enforcement that test positive for them off, but not confident in my own ability to navigate the treacherous path of addiction. These reports indicate that increases in synthetic opioid-involved deaths are being driven by increases in fentanyl-involved overdose deaths, and the source of the fentanyl is more likely to be illicitly manufactured than pharmaceutical. There are also fentanyl analogs, such as acylfentanyl, furanylfentanyl, and carfentanil, which are similar in chemical structure to fentanyl but not routinely detected because specialized toxicology testing is required. Recent surveillance has also identified other emerging synthetic opioids, like U47700.5. Estimates of the potency of fentanyl analogs vary from less potent than fentanyl to much more potent than fentanyl. But there is some uncertainty because potency of illicitly manufactured fentanyl analogs has not been evaluated in humans. Carfentanil, the most potent fentanyl analog detected in the U.S., is estimated to be 10,000 times more potent than morphine. Elusive high, the desperate quest for momentary relief, eclipsed all else.
On that fateful night, as I found myself homeless, the sweltering heat only added to the burden weighing me down. Fatigue seeped into every fiber of my being, urging me to find respite, but there was nowhere to turn. I had become a victim of my own lies, deceived by false promises that led me to this desolate place. In that moment, the overwhelming sense of loneliness washed over me, engulfing my mind.
And for you, and with His guidance, you will overcome. Let us embark on this road to recovery together, hand in hand, as we seek a life filled with purpose and joy. As we stood there, two souls bound by a shared experience and an unwavering faith, I knew that this encounter was not just a turning point but a divine intervention. With renewed hope coursing through my veins, I stepped forward into the embrace of God's love, ready to face the challenges ahead and embrace the promise of a brighter future.
Fentanyl withdrawal timelines can be particularly difficult to establish due to the multiple illicit forms in which the drug appears. These non-pharmaceutical varieties, laced with illicit drugs such as heroin, inject the withdrawal process with an element of uncertainty. In general, early-stage withdrawal effects may be experienced in as few as 3 or 4 hours following dosage. Peak symptoms typically appear within, or even years. In rare instances, permanent damage is sustained as a result of the potent and unpredictable drug's interaction with individual biochemistry. One of the primary goals of fentanyl detox is to minimize or prevent precipitated withdrawal, the rapid and potentially dangerous acceleration of withdrawal symptoms. Fentanyl may be undetectable by urine under certain circumstances, but in designated tests it may appear for up to 24 hours. Saliva tests generally detect the drug for a period of 1 to 3 days, less than other opiates. Fentanyl is relatively short-lived in the bloodstream, with a maximum duration of approximately 12 hours. Hair samples provide the most accurate long-term result, with traces appearing for up to 90 days following dosage.
If you are interested in supporting life at Kensington Avenue at Facebook, there are several ways you can help. Liking and sharing the page's content is a great way to help spread the word and raise awareness about addiction in the Kensington area. Donations are also greatly appreciated and can help the page continue to grow and provide critical support to individuals and families affected by addiction. Additionally, if you or someone you know is looking for help finding a missing person, the page's volunteers are ready and willing to help. Please feel free to send a message to the page's inbox, and they will do everything they can to assist you. Thank you for your support and for helping life at Kensington Avenue at Facebook continue to make a positive impact in the community.
Drug overdose deaths remain high. 75% of the nearly 92,000 drug overdose deaths in 2020 involved an opioid. More than 932,000 people have died since 1999 from a drug overdose. 1 in 2020, 91,799 drug overdose deaths occurred in the United States. These reports indicate that increases in synthetic opioid-involved deaths are being driven by increases in fentanyl-involved overdose deaths, and the source of the fentanyl is more likely to be illicitly manufactured than pharmaceutical. There are also fentanyl analogs, such as acylfentanyl, furanylfentanyl, and carfentanil, which are similar in chemical structure to fentanyl but not routinely detected because specialized toxicology testing is required. Recent surveillance has also identified other emerging synthetic opioids, like U47700.5. Estimates of the potency of fentanyl analogs vary from less potent than fentanyl to much more potent than fentanyl. But there is some uncertainty because potency of illicitly manufactured fentanyl analogs has not been evaluated in humans. Carfentanil, the most potent fentanyl analog detected in the U.S., is estimated to be 10,000 times more potent than morphine.
On that fateful night, as I found myself homeless, the sweltering heat only added to the burden weighing me down. Fatigue seeped into every fiber of my being, urging me to find respite, but there was nowhere to turn. I had become a victim of my own lies, deceived by false promises that led me to this desolate place. In that moment, the overwhelming sense of loneliness washed over me, engulfing my mind in emptiness. I dared not dwell on thoughts of my children, for their memory was a fragile thread that could weaken my resolve. This was Kensington Avenue, the territory of L Block, adjacent to the infamous Needle Park. A few familiar faces from my drug-riddled past congregated in the middle of the park, indulging in their destructive habits. Like a moth drawn to flame, I felt myself drawn towards them, yearning for a taste of fentanyl to momentarily satiate my cravings and forget the devastating losses I had suffered. As I made my way towards the heart of the park, a voice shattered the silence, calling my name. It was Macho, a Puerto Rican man who had known the streets since his youth. His life had been marred by addiction, his hands stained with the intent of a past murder that had led him to a decade behind bars. Yet, the flawed system of law and justice in Philadelphia had released him back onto the streets of Kensington. Macho cared not for the virtues of a better life, he was driven solely by his insatiable hunger for drugs, declaring fentanyl as the ultimate high. In that moment, our paths intersected once again, two lost souls navigating the unforgiving streets of addiction. The darkness that enveloped us seemed impenetrable, a realm where desperation reigned supreme. Little did I know that this encounter with Macho would become a turning point, a catalyst for change in the depths of my own journey towards redemption. Macho's voice pierced through the haze of my exhaustion, demanding to know where I was headed. The truth hung heavy in the air, my life had unraveled, my wife had stripped me of everything, and the burden of unpaid rent loomed over me. Weariness gripped my bones, rendering me unable to articulate my need for rest. All around me, the landscape was drenched in the haunting scenes of people consumed by their addictions. There were groups immersed in drugs, others numbed and motionless on the ground. It was a chilling sight, a visual symphony of despair. Macho inquired about the state of my drug supply, his words cloaked in a language only addicts understand. I admitted to having 2 bags of fentanyl, and he pressed on, leading the way towards the heart of Needle Park, where the imposing structure of the public library stood. But there was no refuge within those walls, no sanctuary of knowledge or safety to be found. Instead, the interior teemed with a disarray of more than 50 individuals, each one ensnared in the grip of addiction. I knew I had arrived in a realm akin to zombie land, a place where time ceased to have meaning, and I felt the insidious pull drawing me closer to that fate. Macho reigned supreme in his corner of this sordid domain, a self-proclaimed king in the midst of chaos. Together, we settled near the library entrance, the fading sun casting long shadows upon us. I claimed a step on the staircase as my makeshift throne, my trembling hands reaching for the bag of fentanyl that held my escape. As Macho prepared his needle, poised to inject his chosen poison, I followed suit, willingly poisoning my mind and body in search of fleeting relief. Amidst the haze, his voice became a distant hum, his words a mere backdrop to my deteriorating reality. The moment the toxic concoction coursed through my veins, my vision shifted, unveiling a tableau forever etched in my memory, the haunting image of my life as a homeless man on Kensington Avenue.
Addiction is a difficult and complex disease that can have devastating consequences for individuals and families. However, it is important to know that there is hope for those struggling with addiction. Recovery is possible, and there are many resources available to help individuals overcome their addiction and lead happy, healthy, drug-free lives. One of the most important things that we can do to prevent addiction is to educate young people about the dangers of drugs. By providing accurate information about the risks associated with drug use, we can empower young people to make informed decisions about their health and well-being. It is important to know that addiction is not a choice, but it is a treatable disease. Seeking help and support is the first step towards recovery, and there are many treatment options available, including medication-assisted treatment, behavioral therapy, and support groups. Recovery from addiction is a lifelong journey, but it is one that is filled with hope and the promise of a better life. With the right support, individuals can overcome addiction and achieve their goals and dreams. It is never too late to seek help and start on the path to recovery. Let's spread the message of hope and educate our communities, especially the young people, about the dangers of drugs and the importance of seeking help for addiction. Together, we can create a world where addiction is no longer a barrier to living a healthy and fulfilling life. Addiction is a difficult and challenging experience, both for those who struggle with it and for their loved ones. However, it is essential to remember that there is always hope for recovery and a better life without drugs. Recovery from addiction is possible, and there are many resources available for individuals who are ready to seek help. Treatment options for addiction can include medication-assisted treatment, counseling, support groups, and holistic therapies. These options can help individuals overcome their addiction and develop the skills and tools necessary to lead healthy and fulfilling lives. It is important to remember that recovery is a journey and that it takes time, effort, and commitment. However, with the right support and guidance, individuals can achieve long-term sobriety and find hope in a life without drugs. One of the most critical steps in preventing addiction is educating young people about the dangers of drug use. It is crucial to start the conversation early and teach young people the risks associated with drug use, including addiction, overdose, and other negative consequences. By providing young people with accurate information about drugs and addiction, we can help them make informed decisions and avoid the dangers of substance abuse. Additionally, by offering resources and support to those who struggle with addiction, we can help them find hope and achieve long-term recovery. It is important to remember that addiction is a disease, and individuals who struggle with it should be treated with compassion and empathy. With the right support and resources, individuals can find hope and a better way of life without drugs. Your donations to Life at Kensington Avenue at Facebook make a real difference in the community. They help to support our volunteers and enable us to continue our critical work in raising awareness about addiction and helping those affected by it. This summer, your donations will help us to clean up local parks and make them safe and enjoyable for children and families in the community. By removing needles and other hazardous materials from the parks, we can help to prevent accidental injuries and ensure that everyone can enjoy the great outdoors without fear. Your support also enables us to produce high-quality content, including videos and other materials, that help to educate the community about the dangers of addiction and the resources available to those who are struggling. By spreading awareness and providing support, we can help to prevent addiction and provide hope and healing to those who need it most. Every donation, no matter how small, helps to make a difference in the lives of those affected by addiction. Your support is critical to our success, and we are deeply grateful for your generosity and compassion. Together, we can make a positive impact in the Kensington community and help those affected by addiction to find hope, healing, and a brighter future. Thank you for your support.
As the clouds cast a somber shadow over the city, I found myself standing on a street corner, fresh out of jail, unaware of the dangerous change that had taken hold in the world of drugs. Heroin had been my companion in the past, but little did I know that a new, merciless predator had emerged, the insidious force known as fentanyl. With a mixture of curiosity and desperation, I took that fateful step, unknowingly diving into the depths of an unknown substance. I had heard whispers of its potency, its lethal grip, but I brushed them off, confident in my own ability to navigate the treacherous path of addiction. How wrong I was. The moment that powder coursed through my veins, an icy shiver crept up my spine. The world around me transformed into a haze, as if reality itself had dissolved into a murky fog. I was a puppet on fentanyl's strings, surrendering control of my own destiny to a chemical concoction. Little did I realize that this cloudy afternoon marked the beginning of a harrowing journey, a journey that would push my body to the brink, testing the limits of my strength, resilience, and will to survive. I was about to embark on a battle not only against the drug that had ensnared me but against the shadows within myself. The truth is, I was paralyzed by fear when it came to breaking free from the clutches of fentanyl. The mere thought of the excruciating pain and suffering that awaited me sent shivers down my spine. It felt like an insurmountable mountain towering over me, ready to crush my body and shatter my mind. This fear, this paralyzing dread, is a shared experience among addicts facing the daunting task of detoxification. I didn't want to endure the torment that threatened to rip me apart from the inside out. In my tumultuous journey through addiction, I had once managed to conquer the seemingly unconquerable, the dreaded heroin. Its grip on my life was relentless, and it was already considered the scourge of the